If you're looking to try and top 3 in your Starfall Veins event, look no further because today's video is all about that. This is going to give you some tips and tricks and early game strategy so you can get those points to get hopefully a top 3 finish. And obviously I'm going to give you some extra guide information like the types of buffs that you can get in the game and even how to get the best points early on to actually try and maximize your win potential. So smash like, comment and subscribe. Let's dive into today's video. So let's talk about some tips and tricks to begin with Starfall Vein, and while we do so, you'll see some early game strategy that I would recommend that you guys do, and let's see if you can suss it out before I even mention it in the next section. So firstly, tips and tricks that you need to know with Starfall Vein. Firstly, in this game mode, you need to remember buffs. Buffs do work, so if you want to use your troop capacity, attack or defense, put that 10, 20, 30% on there, you're gonna be able to do so. Secondly, when it comes to the formations that you want to bring into your Starfall Veins, I would always recommend, no matter what, at least one cavalry unit. If you bring one cavalry unit, you will feel the massive difference in your squad. And that is just because in Starfall Vein, it is about speed and power at the same time. How fast can you get to a tile to gather and get back? How fast can you go to a Radiant Guardian, kill that Radiant Guardian and come back? Same with the monuments that spawn on the 10 and 20 timers in Starfall Veins. So speed is very needed in this game mode. So if you're a swordsman main, you can bring that Miyamoto, bring that Sun Tzu, but bring a Lubu just in case as well, because you won't regret it. And obviously if you're a cavalry main, bring double cavalry, and maybe bring a pikeman or a swordsman, whatever you want to kind of fill in that gap. And you're obviously going to be using that to your advantage. Thirdly, you need to understand there's some abilities in Starfall Vein, and there is two that you're going to be needing to actually use in this event. First one is the golden button you can see on the right side. That's glowing all shiny. And what you're going to be able to see in a moment in some other gameplay footage is me using that, and it recalls all of your troops instantly back to your city. No march time, no nothing. This is very important because, again, if your marchers are about to die, you're going to be able to recall everyone home, saving them, and potentially move on. At the same time, you can use this recall button to recall your troops while they're gathering to maximize the amount of resources you've gotten before relocating your marchers. And that's what you're going to see me do in a hot second. On top of this, you have your teleport, and this teleport has a cooldown of 5 minutes, while the recall button, which you saw, has a cooldown of 10 minutes. So make sure if you do use this, you're going to have it up during some very important timers in Starfall Veins. The last and final tip that I'm going to give before we move on is the timings. Honestly, guys, learn the timings. I do understand at the very top here, you're going to see all of the timings in Starfall Veins. They will pop up and give you a 1 minute kind of warning that something's going to happen. However, if you just remember them, you're going to be just much better off. And they're not even that hard to remember. The first 5 minutes is going to be where you have your early game to Radiant Guardians. So as soon as you see 25 minutes left on the area, you know Radiant Guardians have spawned. You can get 9,000 points per kill. If you get to 10 minutes, that's going to remain 20 on the timer at the top. And that just means you're going to see the monuments spawn, which means they have 3,000 damage garrison walls. Quickly blow that up, you're going to be able to get some points as well as a buff if you claim the loot from it being dropped. Then at the 15-minute mark, which is halfway through, Radiant Guardians spawn again. And then at the 20-minute mark, you have 2 events. The monument spawn to give you that that big drop again, as well as some big powerful buffs. But more importantly, the center unlocks, allowing you to start capturing and garrisoning the spires for the final 10 minutes, where you're going to get the most potential points after all the hard work you've done in the previous 20 minutes. So with that, you should understand how this is being worked out right now. You can see the early game strategy, and the best early game strategy that you could be rocking is honestly just gathering in this game mode. You can see that by gathering, you're going to be able to maintain, hopefully, if you're fast enough, a top 2, maybe top 3, depending on how fast other guys are cranking out that gathering. And it's all about, again, your city position. If you're able, as you can see, to get the very close ones, that's minimizing march time. That's minimizing, again, the time required to get out and farm again. It's all about speed and being efficient, as you've guessed it, right? On top of all of this now, I do want to talk about the buffs, because you can see there is some buffs here, and you're about to see them a bit better because I pick it up on accident. And you can see if we move just a bit further on, another chest will drop. And if you guys are wondering, these chests always drop generally from tiles, killing tribes, or just basically doing anything in the event. If you kill any normal type of creature, that's where these chests drop. But if you kill a monument, you're going to see a legendary chest, which is a much powerful version of these same buffs, right? So if we just go and showcase that treasure chest, you'll see the 7 different buffs that you're able to use. So the first one gives you 15% attack and defense, and this is obviously good if you're competing in the center, because while you're in the center, and if you're garrisoning, your troops are going to be getting a debuff, making them take and deal a little bit less damage over time. The next one is a really good one, including the third one, which you'll see. This is in giving you a 25% gathering speed. So you are able to actually churn out these ores pretty darn fast if you have the mining speciality. And if you do, I would 100% recommend going a little bit more inwards, which I'm going to explain in the next section for the kind of tips and tricks and basics, right? The next one is going to be your beautiful extra 25 Starfall Iron per second for the first 5. So you get an extra 125, just free basically, given to you for capturing any of these Starfall or veins. It's actually a really good one, and you'll start to realize having tool intensification and that kind of like mining one rolling at the same time, you just kind of just start cooking everyone in speed and resource gathering that you can have. The next one says gain additional 25% Starfall Iron when eliminating monsters. Reaper is actually good if you can luckily get this timed around when the Radiant Guardians spawn. So if you're able to kill a bunch of tribes just before and get a load of chests out and keep rolling it until you get the Reaper, you can keep replacing one of the 2 previous buffs that you've got for it. And when you do have that 25% on top of the 9k that you get, is actually a really cool tip and trick on getting some maximum efficiency out of there. On top of this though, if you're a cavalry player, especially a cavalry player, and you're running duo cavs in Starfall Veins, when you get Reaper, this is your time to actually go crazy and using your cavalry to chain every tribe, while maybe one guy is farming away a level 2, 3, or 4 node, depending on where you have teleported. The next buff is going to be more tailored towards, again, killing those monsters. You get an additional 300, so if you're able to get the Cleaner and the Reaper put together, it is a devastating combo for you to just get killing, basically. The next one is Looter. You get 25% additional upon each successful looting of other governor's troops. What people don't realize in this event, which you can do, is, for example, if we look at the very top of the screen there is an enemy player farming on a tile, and if I actually go and kill that player on that tile, I actually do loot some of the loot of his Starfall ore that he has, and this is going to give you 25% extra on top. I will tell you though, out of all of the buffs, this feels like the worst one. Even though people be like, really? It's a PvP based one and it's bad? Actually, yeah, because it doesn't really give you too much in terms of actual ore per kill that you have. And at the same time, you could be risking killing your own troops for the looter perk here. And if your troops die, as I said earlier on, you're gonna have to wait a 1 minute timer for that respawn and get them back out. And you might need to waste that 10-minute cooldown to save your troops, which just isn't worth it by any means, right? So definitely one of the worst ones, but it's there. And then a really good one is the March speed one. If you have Swift March, you should be cooking as well, because with the Swift March and the Gathering one, for example, you get 20% March speed, so you can get there a bit faster and return faster. Now you're gathering faster. It actually just works really, really well. This also lets you get to any of the objectives in the game sooner, so fantastic there. And again, the legendary buffs are basically the same as these, but just pumped up numbers. So just kind of remember that when it comes to it, and just remember it is random, so you're not guaranteed whatever you're going to get. You have to play a little bit flexible when it comes to it. So with that now, what is, like I said, kind of like the early game strategy, if you've not guessed it? And I kind of mentioned it and showcased it through all the gameplay so far, and it is gathering. Gathering seems to be the #1 way, especially early game, to just get points. If you're able just to keep gathering these level 1 and 2 nodes where you first spawn, it is very fast, and you'll see that I'm able to jump into the top 2 spots by just farming these nodes constantly. The only way you can actually improve this is by kind of teleporting more internal of the map. The more inner map you go, you know the higher level tiles that you're able to get. So if you're able to just teleport even into the lighter green towards the yellow zones, you're going to be able to actually get that level 3, level 4 tiles and just start spamming them, boom, and getting even more ahead than your enemies in there. So that is honestly the main gist for most players. If you're a cavalry player, you might be able to go down more of a tribe focus route, but that's kinda it. So now let's move on to some other gameplay that we've got on show and kind of showcasing how to use some of these abilities. So firstly, as I said, we do have that respawn. So if we go to this timer, you can see we're at 24 minutes 49, so we're 10 seconds after the Radiant Guardians spawn, and you can see them on the map right now with the level 30 golden tags all over the place. And what I'm trying to do, as you can see, I'm waiting for my Lubu to come home and basically my Ramses, but my Ramses is home for this scenario, just for an example's sake. And what you can do if you need to relocate to this area is press that button. So if you go and press the button, you recall all deployed troops instantly. And what's really powerful is, if we watch it one last time, is when you recall, you get any of that ore that you have. This is very important because just remember, you can have a unified loot of 24k. So if you are aiming to teleport like this and use your recall at the same time, it might be more beneficial for your troops to start either gathering or to actually loot the little things on the map that just have between like 500 to maybe 1k-ish Starfall on, and just accumulate a massive load, so then when you press the recall, you get over like 48k, boom, instantly. Then you can teleport and then move forward with your plan. So this is just kind of showcase that all in one swift motion. And again, just remember, it's up to you when to pull the trigger, when you want to teleport, and when you want to do so. One thing though, I want to make sure you can see though, and this is very important, is these Radiant Guardians. They are going to be different unit types, and depending on what unit types, you will kill them a little bit sooner. However, participation reward, 9,000 Starfall Iron. Massive, absolutely huge, this ore that you're able to get. So if you're able to teleport into a zone, as you can see that I'm about to do, and kill multiple of these, do it. Do not try not to do it, because it's going to give you, especially as a more free-to-play player, more chances of getting ahead, right? So you can see this is already 24,000 points that I'm just about to cheese out of nowhere. And the beautiful thing is, once you've killed these, you can do whatever you wanted to do before Or you can keep hunting, right? You can keep hunting for more and more of these different types of Radiant Guardians, and that's going to allow you, if you've not guessed it, to keep getting more and more ahead. And you can see that I'm able to do this later on in the game mode to get a bunch of obviously score. And if you want to watch this full Starfall Vein, just to let you guys know, you can check it out on the live stream that showcases the full length of it all for you guys, right? So here we're coming up to the Ancient Monument timer, and this is just to showcase some nice sneaky Ancient Monument tech that you can do. So again, just remember when we go into here, you've got the same as before. So these buffs are the same like I just mentioned in the early ones, they're just stronger. So instead of 15 and 15, you're getting 50 and 50% here, right? Now moving on to the next one, it's doubled, right? 50% gathering speed instead of 25. Moving on to this one, 150 for 10 seconds instead of 5. So you can kind of guess now how this is all working out and why these are very important, especially if you really want to try and get ahead of your opponents. But also one thing to note is these, right? You get free 2.5 or 2k, which is a decent amount, but just remind yourself the reason you're going for these ancient monuments isn't for this, it's for the buff, and that is the only reason you're going to kill them. If you don't care about the buff and you don't care about these extra 3 or 2ks, honestly, go and teleport and farm a level 3 or level 4 tile, or even funnier, find an area that's a little bit quiet, because you'll be surprised that there's some areas on the map still that just doesn't have anyone there, and that means Radiant Guardians spawn, and you can still get those 9,000 drops. So because of this, you can see me being a little bit sneaky here and getting some preparation on. I've got 10 seconds to remain, and if you never noticed it, I was watching the timer during all of this, so we're waiting for that timer to drop 10 seconds to get anywhere near to try and steal this. And this is just to showcase one thing to you, which is a lesson learned for everyone. When you kill a monument, you do not gain these buffs or the reward for killing it if you kill it. It drops them on the map. So you need to be able, if you've not guessed it, to kill the monument and pick everything up. If there's someone else there, which we're going to showcase here, that is going to try and kind of, stop you from getting that monument, then that means, if you've not guessed it, they could take those same buffs. So you can see me coming in. I'm about to steal it. Dwarf is there from Empire 34. He notices me, starts to kill me, right? He's got a strong Lubu march, fair play to him. And I'm just trying to kill this before he kills me and see if I can pick something up. I notice I'm not going to do it in time, but I still kill the Empire Monument. And you can see on the floor there, the spoils of war. So just make sure you remember this as a big tip and trick here for these monuments. If you're trying to go for one, make sure you can keep there, because it doesn't give you it from killing it. It drops spoils of war, and then you've got to pick them up. And you can kind of see me do this over here with the Ramses, right? The Ramses comes over easily. No one's obviously stopping me from doing so, and I'm able to just kill that, get the freebies, and move on. So moving from the Empire Monument footage here, some more footage obviously that we've got for you guys is just the respawn timer. So just want to kind of showcase this for you guys, and this is obviously just a reality check. I'm not just spewing nonsense out here and just saying, look, you know, your marchers die, they're on a 1 minute respawn timer. I freaking mean it. So really pay attention to your marchers, because with your marchers, you are able to do some really funky stuff when it comes to PvP that you'll notice that we're going to go into in a moment. So showcasing now this outside, these are the internal towers. As you guys know, you're going to be able to get these at the last 10 minutes. So just remember, on the last 10 minutes, the monuments are respawning, so you're going to get some powerful buffs, but at the same time, these internal towers unlock. If you guys are wondering with the internal towers, yes, you can, if you want to, put one march in each one of these internal towers. So you can control 3 of them at once. But just remember, if you're doing that, you're going to have to try and micromanage 3 different attacks at once, and at the same time, you're getting debuffed on those marches 3 different times. So it is one of those things that it's a high risk, high reward. But look, if you're the strongest player in the lobby, potentially you might be able to get away with it, right? So moving on from this little section, moving into the next section, you can see just showcasing 15 minutes on the timer. The radiant attendance will appear in 60 seconds just to notify you and remind you guys of those timers that we mentioned at the beginning of the video. And what we're doing here is just showcasing when it comes to teleporting more central. So as you can see, when it comes back into here, I'm going to relocate more into obviously the center of the map. And where you want to try and relocate is somewhere, as you can imagine, there's going to be people around, right? There's going to be people around, but you want to relocate where there's the least amount of players, or at least not the strongest player, because obviously if you're able to do that, you can either do one of 2 things, right? I could TP there, which you just saw. So this is a very offensive TP. It allows me to fight for this tower very easily because I'm really, really freaking close. But then I have to imagine this city, the guy up at the top there, and we saw Dwarf are all probably going to compete for this tower too. And it has to be one of those ones, am I able to compete with the powers around me? And it's a very hard evaluation. You're gonna have to figure it out one day yourselves from experience playing, but it is going to be one of those things about experience, learning to teleport there in the right spots. So you can see I move more into this nice little pockets further away, but it allows me to play a little bit more, you know, kind of safer. And this is kind of showcasing what I mentioned earlier on in the video about these Radiant Guardians. They're everywhere on the map, and some people just haven't killed them, and I would recommend you killing them, right? It's a free 9,000 points. You can see I'm ranked 3 at the moment, so I'm holding that top 3 position quite well, and obviously trying my best at the same time. So now we'll move into some PvP probably tips and tricks that you can be using for your account, right? So if we go into here, you can see I'm at the 12-minute 55 mark. We're doing some Radiant Guardianing. As you can see, chaining Radiant Guardians all the way while we are waiting for that marker. And you can see an ancient monument is just nearby. So as you can see, as you're waiting for that last 10-minute timer to open, be an opportunist, be a vulture if you want to be, right? Pick every single thing off the ground if you want, and just take advantage of anything no one has gotten. Because if you're able to, that might be the difference of you from actually being able to win your Starfall Veins. So now we are in the gameplay side of things, and you'll see that I'm able to go in and obviously multi-attack one tower, and you can do that. So if you want to focus attack with one, go for it. And what you're going to see me do is that exact thing, right? So if we move forward, we're going to kill maybe on this guy, and then boom, go in and start attacking this tower. I've got my archers in there, my Luby's on there against this guy's Ramses, I think, swordsman that he's running. So we're going to be able to hopefully blow him up. But we do have 3 people on my Lubu. So what I did there is something very interesting, which is the recall, right? I recalled my troops and stopped the fight. But one thing you might need to notice there is in PvP scenarios, if you recall your troops like I did, whoever they are, if they are fighting your troops, all of their troops, if they've got it turned on, will auto return to their cities. So if you watch this carefully, you're going to see me press it, and then you'll see dwarfs, marchers that are attacking me, and this other guy all start just immediately walking away. Look at that. Boom. Instantly. Walking away. So many marchers, right? This is very important. You need to understand this mechanic because it's going to be a very key PvP technique that you can be using and abusing at the time of this video still. Unless the devs patched this, which is a little bit annoying, but it's how you could abuse that recall mechanic when it comes to a tower. So if we move forward a little bit, so we get control of one of these towers, you can kind of see how this is going to play out. So if we move around to this tower, you'll see me kill this guy, and then you'll see me start to take control of it. I don't think Nemo tries to come in, but it is what it is, right? What you're able to do is click on the towers themselves, right? And you can recall your troops. I know sometimes it's bugging out here and it doesn't showcase it, but you'll see me able to do this anyway because I use my other match to defend myself. Obviously, this is just simple PvP that I would recommend you do anyway, standard PvP. But you can see there, that recall button. That's going to be very, very important because if you have a match in there, like I do, and someone's going to attack you like they do here, if you just click recall, right, they can just stop fighting you, especially if they are targeting your tower. If you are doing what I did there and you recall too early, their attack will still go through onto the tower, and as you saw, Nemo will take the tower. But you'll be able to see this being used in a multiple ways. Everyone does it. It's really, really funny to see people doing this. But being able to just recall your troops in a tower to stop people targeting and at the same time force recall away is very powerful. Very, very, very powerful. And you can use and abuse this quite easily. So you see there Nemo doing it. So Nemo recalls his troops and then puts them back in. And then recalls his troops and then puts them back in. And he does defeat the guy at the same time. But that is one of the most nastiest little tricks you can do. Makes my troops even stand still, which is annoying. But if we showcase this one last time here, there we go. Recall goes in. See how he does that? Recalls. Look, I'm fighting. I'm fighting. I'm fighting. Recalls. My troops walk away. Very important. That's why I'm trying to drive this through, because if you're controlling an internal tower, one of the cheesiest things to be doing, honestly, is, if you've not guessed it, to attack, obviously control that tower. But when someone is trying to take your tower, you can kind of recall your troops and jump back in. Recall your troops, jump back in. Recall your troops, jump back in. And that's kind of what you keep doing. You keep recalling your troops and jumping back in. And by doing that, you get so many free extra points that you might have been losing out on your march. So you can see me here getting like double swarmed. I'm not feeling it. I'm trying to use my other march just to help. Obviously, my Ramses. My Ramses is absolutely obliterating. You saw that good old pikeman march. But just remember, for every time my archers are in there, they're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And that just isn't healthy. Obviously, my Ramses is a very strong march. It able to fight off many people, as you see, and especially these guys that are just running more tavern-based hero marches like a Hammurabi. It's just not good enough in the Starfall Vein. But you'll see it here. Here we go. Time to abuse the recall mechanic. So we're getting attacked by a cavalry unit. We hit recall. We go in and we drag back in. Easy as that. Recall, stops the fight, goes back in. And you can see I'm able to get, look, an extra 5 seconds every time almost that I'm able to do this. Look at that. And I'm only losing maybe 100 troops, maybe 200 troops. And I'm able to just keep doing this. And you can see like that 45% there is going in. The only time is when you get caught out. And this is the way you counter it, making sure you're dragging in yourself, and you might be able to actually fight through and beat them. So what I'm doing here, and it sounds crazy, I'm using archers to kill a Lubu, and I know, you're like, why are you doing that, Sneakyy? Well, I'm recalling my troops, and I'm trying to deal as much damage to that Lubu march before I come back with a full march to kill it now. So you got to think, Nemo here has only 83,000 troops, and because he only has 83,000 troops, he has to think about his life total now, because if I go in and I kill his Lubu march, well, guess what? His Lubu is on a 1 minute cooldown. He's not having a good time. No one's having a good time, and he's going to have to recall those troops. And you can see him do it there. Boom. Instantly recalls his troops, understands the threat that he's in, resets it, and he's probably going to come back with those cavalry. So honestly, when it comes to PvP, you need to take advantage of all of this. And at the same time, if you're able to control multiple towers, that's how you're going to get your top 5, top 3 finish in Starfall Veins. You're not going to be able to get a top 3 finish without controlling an internal tower. It just isn't possible, because the amount of score per second that you're able to get while you're in here. And that's why they have those 35% and 40% and 45%, the accumulative debuffs that get applied to you while you are in your Starfall Vein match. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you've learned something from it, and hopefully I've given you guys some knowledge here on how you can use some certain PvP exploits like the recall tower mechanic to get into your favor, even showcasing the recall mechanic in PvP of your troops, forcing your enemies to also recall theirs, which is really, really cool. And then obviously giving you the strategy in the early game for doing all of the gathering, all of the Radiant Guardians to maximize the amount of score that you can potentially get in here. And if you follow all of this through and you're in a very balanced matchmaking lobby, I'm guaranteeing you, you're going to be in the very top section. And if you're not, I'm telling you, your top 10 is going to be very damn close because of how competitive and close you are between each other. But that's pretty much it. That is honestly Starfall Veins tips and tricks covered. If you want to watch this entire Starfall Veins, you can. I've got it on my live streams. Just check out my live tab on YouTube, and it will be the latest live stream, which is called Starfall Veins and Desolate Desert gameplay for you all. And you'll be able to watch this immediately because I started a stream about 5 minutes just before it all, and you'll see all the same gameplay. You'll see it all in full screen too. Some nice easy stuff, so you won't have any of this background if you don't want it in this background. And study it. You can study and learn and figure out some extra tips and tricks for yourself by doing that. So with that, you know what to do, guys. Smash like, comment, and subscribe. If this has helped you, you know what to do. Support your boy. And until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.